The question is, this House do now adjourn. Chris White.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It is an honour to represent the constituency of Warwick and Leamington, particularly in this anniversary year. The constituency includes the towns of Leamington, Whitnash and Warwick, and a number of surrounding villages. But in this debate, I wish to celebrate the 1100th anniversary of the founding of Warwick, a town steeped in history and characterised by a strong community spirit. Many of the iconic buildings that make up part of this history are still standing today and are integral to the fabric of this community. The transition from a defensive stronghold in 914 to the impressive county town of Warwickshire in 2014 is clear for all to see. Warwick has developed over many centuries and is now a remarkable place to live and a popular tourist destination. I'd like to put on record details of its long and illustrious history and to reflect on the characteristics that shape our wonderful town today. Historic buildings are a defining aspect of Warwick, including St Mary's Collegiate Church, dating back to 1123, the Chantry Chapel of the Lord Leicester Hospital, dating back to 1126. And alongside this historical grounding and rich heritage, Warwick is home today to a range of fantastic schools, voluntary organisations and businesses, all supported by local residents with a dedicated, hard-working and neighbourly nature. Staging nationally renowned festivals, from the ever-popular Folk Festival, now in its 35th year, to the annual Victorian Evening, which starts the festive season in a spectacularly traditional way. Our open green spaces remain a picturesque part of Warwick, not least St Nicholas Park, alongside the River Avon. And as a Warwick resident, I hope to see our open spaces preserved and the beauty of the town maintained. With the nature of Warwick, excessive development would not be in our best interests, and this is something I have campaigned against. It is widely accepted that the founding of Warwick came in the year 914, when Ethelfleda, Lady of the Mercians, established the settlement, a lady whose face has appeared on many mugs, tea towels and other merchandising this year. The town was built on a small hill that controlled the river crossing on the road to London and was strategically placed to control the Fosse Way, built by the Romans. It was therefore an excellent location to protect locals from the threat of invasion. And according to the etching from 1731 in my office, the town has a pleasant situation on the north side of the River Avon upon a hill. However, the etching also suggests that there were settlements on this land prior to 914 and that Cymbeline, a British king, established a town there around Christ's nativity. The fortified dwelling was one of 10 built to defend Mercia due to the threat of the Danes, and the settlement became the county town of the new Shire of Warwickshire in the year 1001. In 1068, William the Conqueror built a motte and bailey castle to gain control of the region and to respond to various uprisings. The famous castle is still today an integral part of Warwick, providing a majestic backdrop and attracting vast numbers of visitors every year. In 1086, 244 dwellings were recorded in the Domesday Book as the settlement started to grow. The fortification of the town was completed with the construction of a town wall. A market was based in a number of streets and buildings across Warwick. Being located away from the main trading routes, there was significant competition in the area from nearby towns for trading. The main prosperity came from the castle, but trading was certainly a major feature, and the market remains a part of weekly life in our town today. And come rain or shine, traders are still operating in the square every Saturday. The square also has the statue of Randolph Turpin, the boxing champion who won the world middleweight title in 1951. And he was considered to be one of the best in the sport throughout the 1940s and 50s. And wandering through the square and around the centre of Warwick, we find a huge array of pubs and restaurants and a fabulous night scene. By the 15th century, many of the suburbs we see today were formed, including Saltersford and Smith Street. By the early 17th century, the general street pattern was clear, and the town was being shaped as a tight community that continues today. I will give way.
I congratulate the honourable gentleman for getting this adjournment debate, because his constituency is actually right next to mine, although mine is in Coventry, and at one time Coventry was part of Warwick. But will he join with me, and I know he will, in congratulating Warwick University, which is part in Coventry and part in Warwickshire, because next year will be the 50th anniversary of the founding of that university, and I know the honourable gentleman takes a big interest in that.
Chris.
Thank you. I'm grateful to the honourable member's contribution, and I know we work very closely together to celebrate the contribution that the university makes, and it was very good to join him in celebrating that anniversary only a couple of weeks ago. And I hope Coventry and Warwick can work together to make sure that the university continues to flourish. But to continue, in 1552, the Court Leet was established by a royal charter, and it is still in existence to today. The group of jurors represent the best interests of the borough and includes interesting positions such as constables, overseers of pavements, an ale taster, and a brook looker. This hat tip to history is representative of what Warwick is about. And I would also like to pay tribute to the current Mayor of Warwick, Councillor Moira Ann Granger, who helps to continue this fine tradition of civic leadership and pride. As the county town, Warwick attracts many visitors. The market remains a feature, and the town became a popular destination. Horse racing was becoming a crowd-pleasing form of entertainment in the 17th century, and with the financial help of Lord Brooke, the first race took place on St Mary's Common in 1707. The racecourse remains a distinct part of the town, holding regular meetings, and is nationally recognised. Entertainment was provided for all tastes as the town grew, and a theatre was also built in the 1790s. During the civil wars of the 17th century, Sir Robert Greville sided with the parliamentarians and put the castle in a state of readiness. Yet Warwick managed to remain unscathed. However, the town's luck came to an end on the afternoon of 5th of September 1694. The Great Fire, which almost destroyed the town, spread swiftly across much of Warwick, destroying or damaging around 250 shops and houses due to their timber frames and close proximity. The impact this had on the town was far-reaching, requiring financial support to rebuild the affected buildings. Plans were put in place by the owner of Warwick Castle, together with local gentry. Most of the rebuilding was completed within a few years, and the designs were subject to an Act of Parliament. This discouraged alterations to the town for a number of years, but in the 18th century, the design of Warwick became more creative. The courthouse was built in the 1720s. Shire Hall was replaced in 1758. Although the current Shire Hall is one of the most shocking pieces of architecture in the town, it houses the County Council, and I hope that in 2015 we can start the process of consultation as to the merits of a unitary authority. I'd also like to praise Warwick Town Council, along with the financial assistance of the Heritage Lottery Fund, for reopening the beautiful buildings that is the courthouse on Jury Street. The Grade 1 listed building has this year become a place for community events, and it is wonderful to see it being utilised in this way. The courthouse holds fond but anxious memories for me personally, as it was at a meeting there in 2002 that I was selected to stand as the candidate for the Warwick and Leamington seat. To add a little more detail on the castle, undoubtedly one of the most striking features of the town, William I began its construction in 1068, and it still stands today as a landmark, attracting hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. Passing through generations of families, the castle provided protection for nearly 200 years and was converted into a stone structure in 1260. 4 years later, Simon de Montfort successfully attacked the stronghold as leader of the rebellious barons. Caesar's Tower and the dungeons were built in 1350, and Guy's Tower was completed in 1395. A number of our monarchs have visited the castle over centuries, including Queen Elizabeth I, King William III and Queen Victoria. The castle was attacked in 1264, besieged in 1642, and damaged by fire in 1871, but has stood the test of time. St Mary's Church also dominated Warwick in its early days and is an important part of the town today. It was established in 1123 by Roger de Beaumont, the second Earl of Warwick. The only surviving part de Beaumont built is the crypt, with the chancel vestries and a chapter house being extensively built in the 14th century by a later Earl of Warwick. The church, along with much of Warwick, was significantly affected by the Great Fire. The nave and tower were completely destroyed, and the church as we know it today was rebuilt in the early 18th century by brothers Francis and William Smith. There's much to see at St Mary's, including the chapel of the Warwickshire Regiment, several monuments to Warwick dignitaries, and the Beauchamp Chapel. And it is in this stunning chapel that the tomb of its builder, Richard Beauchamp, 13th Earl of Warwick, stands. He served Henry IV, Henry V, and Henry VI, and was a great landowner of the time. His daughter also married Richard Neville, known as Warwick the Kingmaker, due to the wielding of the balance of power through the weakness of kings during the first half of the War of the Roses. I am pleased to be a member of the congregation and pay tribute to the rector, Vaughan Roberts, who has for many years led services at St Mary's. I also thank the choir and organist who put on a wonderful performance of the carol service on Sunday. Each year at St Mary's, the feast of Thomas Oaken is celebrated, a man who made a considerable fortune, but then left most of it to fund education and housing in the town. His attitude to help those in need is reflected in his will, which distributed funds to the town. A deeply religious man, Oaken put the town and fellow residents first and provided £1 annually for a feast. His house has been converted into Oaken's tea rooms in Warwick, located near the castle, and his name lives on in Warwick folklore. The Lord Leicester Hospital, a historic group of timber frame buildings dating back to the late 14th century, is another eye-catching part of the centre of the town and has a beautiful 12th century chapel attached to it. The word hospital is used in its ancient sense, meaning a charitable institution for the housing and maintenance of the needy, infirm or aged. For nearly 200 years it was the home of Warwick's medieval guilds. In the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, it became a place of retirement for old warriors, and it remains today as an independent charity, providing a home for ex-servicemen and their partners. The man in charge of the hospital is still referred to as Master throughout the town. A little further out of town, Guy's Cliff is a large manor house that is now sadly run down, but it provides a fascinating story about the famous Guy of Warwick. The legend goes that Guy, the son of the castle steward, won the heart of Lady Felice, daughter of the Earl of Warwick. But due to their different roles, it was unacceptable for the romance to flourish. So Guy went away to fight as a knight to prove his worth. On returning to Warwick, he married the lady, but regretted his violent past and embarked on a pilgrimage. And on returning once more, he settled in a cave at Guy's Cliff, overlooking the Avon, living the rest of his life as a hermit. Another institution with its roots in history is Warwick School, the oldest boys' school in the country. The school was certainly in operation during Edward the Confessor's reign in the 11th century, and there is a statue of him in the entrance hall, but it was probably in existence around the time of the founding of the town itself. The school was situated in the marketplace before Henry VIII refounded as the King's New School of Warwick. And at this point, the school moved to what is now the Lord Leicester Hospital, having been situated in a number of locations. His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales visited this year to congratulate the school on its anniversary. And fittingly, the under-15 rugby team became national champions this year, while the under-18s reached the final at Twickenham. Schools across the town have much to pride themselves on, and I have had the opportunity to meet many groups of students across the area over the years, and the energy, the passion, maturity and attitude to hard work is clear to see in all our younger people. And as patron of Myton School, it is always a highlight to visit and to welcome students to Parliament each year, and it will be a great honour to present awards at the school ceremony tomorrow evening. And tomorrow morning I will be visiting Aylesford School to join the official turf cutting ceremony on the playing fields, marking the start of a new Aylesford primary school build, which is due for completion and to open for its first reception intake in September next year. Warwick Hospital is also an excellent example of outstanding local institution, and recent figures of the 2014 Quality Health Survey illustrate this. 93% of A&E patients that responded felt they were treated with respect and dignity. The dedication and commitment of those who work in the hospital is phenomenal. And on Monday, I had the chance to visit the hospital to see the beginning of the construction of a new ward, which will yet further their capacity. Myton Hospice provides an incredible quality of care and is the pride of many in the district. And I hear many moving stories about their work. I had the pleasure of meeting many of their staff and volunteers who are involved. Community projects generally are a real feature of Warwick. As the Member of Parliament, I have had the opportunity to become involved with a number of fantastic initiatives. The Friends of Warwick Station is an excellent example, aiming to improve the facilities and aesthetics of our railway station. And recently, children from a number of schools across the area joined the group for a flower planting session, typifying our community spirit. And I pay tribute to our local papers, the Warwick Courier and the Observer, for raising awareness of such initiatives. Turning to the political aspects of Warwick, the town is first known to have returned members of Parliament in 1275. The parliamentary seat of Warwick and Leamington that I represent was formed in 1885, bringing to an end the election of 2 members in each parliamentary session. Amongst other predecessors, Sir Anthony Eden represented the constituency, which gave its nickname the Garden of Eden. In his first election victory, Frances Evelyn Greville, the Countess of Warwick, stood against Eden as the Labour candidate. Daisy, as she was known, had joined the Social Democratic Federation in 1904, donating large amounts of money, and supported the Great October Socialist Revolution in Russia. The rich history of Warwick and the heritage that is stamped on its town can be reflected with much pride. Industrially, our area is well known for its manufacturing expertise, and the recent growth of the sector is a welcome return to our roots. Our local performance in business is a credit to the array of qualities that the town possesses. Firms operating in more established sectors are also excelling, such as National Grid and DCA Design, a world-leading product design consultancy. And as many members will be aware, we recently celebrated Small Business Saturday. And I've long been an advocate of promoting the value that small firms bring to our economy. And I was delighted to walk around the town to visit many of these businesses that are behind the resurgence of our local economy, and even managed to purchase my Christmas turkey. In the 2015 UK Vitality Index, promoted this week for local economies by Lambert Smith Hampton, Warwick is 5th overall. And in addition, our town ranks equal first for education in the country in the index. Mr. Deputy Speaker, if you would indulge me briefly, our jobs figures released today show that in my constituency there has been a 73% fall in the number of unemployed claimants since 2010. This is a remarkable decrease, and I pay tribute to the businesses which have been instrumental in strengthening our local economy. As I have alluded to, the architecture and aesthetics of the buildings in Warwick are well known, with areas of special historic interest. Wandering through the town and through the streets that were set out centuries ago is a reminder of our extensive history. J.R.R. Tolkien married in Warwick in 1916 and was an admirer of our town, with some suggesting that his stories in his writings were based upon it. As reported in Warwick, A Short History and Guide, Tolkien found Warwick, its trees, its hill and its castle, to be a place of remarkable beauty. Since the establishment of Warwick in 914, the town has developed across centuries with a continuous sense of strong attachment for local residents. Next year we will be celebrating the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta, and 750 years since Simon de Montfort Parliament, both important in developing democracy. And it is incredible to think that the town I represent predates that. The castle has always been an iconic and picturesque feature, and St Mary's Church has always stood tall in the skyline. The market square is a great focal point of the town, and often a hive of activity as it has been for centuries. Even last week I was sat in the square watching the film Frozen, thanks to Warwick Rocks, one of the many events that local organisers have done so well to put on for local residents. Today we have an excellent hospital, successful schools, thriving local businesses, and a wonderful community spirit. Warwick may have come a long way since its establishment in 914, but there is a sense of continuity with our predecessors, which makes it a truly special town. Mr. Deputy Speaker, may I take this opportunity to wish you a happy Christmas, to the Minister a happy Christmas, but also to the residents of our fine town a very happy Christmas indeed.
Minister.
Well, I'm grateful, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and may I add to the great Christmas wishes a happy Hanukkah as well, because I was privileged to go to the Speaker's apartments this afternoon to celebrate Hanukkah, where I heard the Chief Rabbi refer to the Speaker as a mensch, which I think should be the new parliamentary term we adopt to praise our wonderful Speaker. May I thank my honourable friend for his wonderful speech and for allowing me a small walk-on part in this adjournment debate. It's not often that we get to do our maiden speech twice, so I praise him for that. I missed a trick with the 850th anniversary of Wallingford in my town, which is a stripling adolescent compared to Warwick. But after hearing his brilliant speech, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I intend to stick around for the 900th anniversary of Wallingford, when I will be 87. So if I could just serve notice on my constituents that I've got another 40 years to serve in order to echo the kind of celebration that my honourable friend has contributed this evening. But it is quite right that it should be an important and lengthy speech, because this kind of moment only comes around every 1100 years. After all, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and the next time we will get to celebrate a similar anniversary, it'll be the year 3114, or if we want to be a bit premature, 2914 for the 2000th anniversary. But I do know that the people of Warwick, I had to say very briefly as well, Mr. Speaker, that I have known my honourable friend really as the member for Leamington, which is not, I hasten to add before anyone gets the wrong end of the stick, to disparage in any way his loyalty to Warwick. But it's important to remember that he also represents Leamington, because as the Minister for the video games industry, I was privileged to visit with him and see the extraordinary companies that are based in that part of his constituency. And it echoes, I think, to a certain extent, the remarks he was making towards the end of his speech about the fact that we are very lucky in this country to have cities and towns like Warwick, which have an extraordinary heritage spanning literally many hundreds of years, but at the same time able to adapt and accommodate the modern economy. And yet again, I'm afraid, my honourable friend outdid me, because not only is Wallingford a pathetic adolescent compared to, not a pathetic adolescent compared to Warwick, but his unemployment figures are slightly better than mine. His unemployment figures have fallen by 73%, and mine have only fallen by about 67%, but still very good figures indeed. And I also note the presence of the honourable member for Coventry South, with whom I've shared many conversations and visited a couple of years ago with him and his constituency, the medieval charter house that he's worked so hard to help restore, and I'll continue to work with him on that. But I felt at one point that he was so taken with my honourable friend's speech that he crossed the floor, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I thought he might stay with us because he was so blown away by the rhetoric. Now, I know that the people of Warwick have not been backward in coming forward to celebrate this important anniversary. It included, of course, the brilliant St George's Day celebrations, the walking tours explaining the history of the town, the beer festival at Warwick Racecourse, which did include, I can't remember now if my honourable friend mentioned it, a special new celebratory beer brewed locally for the occasion. And I think that huge commitment to this anniversary is to be commended. And I was delighted to hear that the Prince of Wales visited Warwick to recognise the importance of this anniversary. And I pay tribute to the extraordinary work the Prince of Wales has done over so many years to support our heritage, but also to support our modern economy. I was with him yesterday in the Science Museum when he was celebrating engineering, particularly the role of women in engineering. My honourable friend pointed to numerous ornaments within Warwick, and of course Warwick Castle stands out as one of the great ornaments. And in fact, Mr. Deputy Speaker, you don't actually have to visit Warwick Castle to appreciate it, because a little known fact is it is the most represented building in this country by the great Venetian painter Canaletto, who was commissioned by the owners, and there are 5 paintings by Canaletto of Warwick Castle and 3 drawings extant, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So I would urge you, if you can't visit yourself, to have a look at those pictures. My honourable friend also mentioned Warwick School, which is indeed the oldest public school in the country, and I hope that it continues to have a thriving future, despite perhaps the plans of the honourable member for Stoke in his war with our great public schools. Of course, I think that school really should be noted for educating 2 Conservative MPs, the current member for North Warwickshire, as well, of course, the famous Harry Greenway, member for Ealing, who I think was known to you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the current Permanent Secretary of the Department of Energy and Climate Change, Mr. Stephen Lovegrove, Christian Horner, the head of Red Bull Racing, but better known as the fiancé of Jerry Halliwell, known to you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as Ginger Spice, because I know you stopped engaging in popular culture about 20 years ago. That's what she was known as. And of course, something perhaps more in tune with your cultural tastes, Sabine Baring-Gould, the author of Onward Christian Soldiers in the mid-19th century. Warwick's rich historic wealth is demonstrated by the number of designated assets contained within its borders. 1,500, just under 1,500 listed buildings. 30 of those buildings are Grade 1, 40 are scheduled monuments, 11 parks and gardens, and 31 conservation areas. I think if I was to make a policy point, if I can put it that way, Mr. Deputy Speaker, what I would say is that my honourable friend has demonstrated the importance of anniversaries. And I think when we talk in this country about community cohesion, about identity, we should remember anniversaries. And I was very pleased when we worked with the Heritage Lottery Fund, for example, to set aside a ring-fence fund, some £10 million, that can be awarded for anniversaries. And we'll see that, I hope some of that money will support the important anniversary of Waterloo next year, the very important anniversary of Magna Carta, which my honourable friend alluded to, and of course it is supporting the very important commemorations we are conducting at the moment for World War I. So I think that is important. And of course, my honourable friend talked about the vibrant economy of Warwick. It is obviously the case as well that not only does our heritage provide a wonderful backdrop for people running modern businesses, they are modern businesses in and of themselves. They bring thousands of visitors, something in the region of 80,000 people a year visit Warwick town, and many more visit Warwick and the surrounding area. So I know that my honourable friend has done really extraordinary work as the member representing Warwick in this House to promote tourism, to discuss with the government the best ways to help tourism, as well as supporting the modern economy. Of course, I give way to my honourable friend.
On the question of tourism, they always come to Coventry first and then they go to Warwick.
That may be so, but as my remarks draw to a close, I can commend Warwick, the old and the new. A picture of St Mary's Church in this press cutting, pointing out that Warwick is one of 10 towns in the top 10 in the Lambert-Smith-Hampton's annual UK Vitality Index. It's moved from 8th to 5th place as a place of economic growth. So I think, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I say, when we commemorate Warwick's well-deserved 1100th anniversary, let us remember it is a great historic town, but also one of the top 10 most vital towns in the country.